Everyone, good evening. So sorry for the late start. But welcome back, you guys. We are on our last session for the free summer program for economics. I know today being the last class, time really flew by. I really hope that you all have been enjoying these sessions thus far. All right. So last week, for those who were in the class, we would have started the topic on demand and supply analysis. And basically, what we are continuing with is that topic, but we are looking at the supply side. We looked at demand, now we are looking at supply. So, without any delays, and if you all have any questions, even from last week, still feel free to message me here in the chat. Okay, so I had given you all a homework, some homework questions, well, a homework assignment, which was to um read upon supply. Let me know how the curve is shaped under the supply side, like the supply analysis. So let me hear from you all. What is the supply? What is supply? How is the curve? And tell me something that you all read up on in terms of supply, the demand and supply analysis. What is supply? How is the curve? Is it upward sloping, downward sloping? Tell me something what you all read up on for supply. How is the curve? Okay, very good, Gianna. It is upward sloping, yes. And Anthony, yes, it is the provision of goods in the market at a particular price in time for sale. So yes, very good, very good. You guys. So Gianna, yes. Jacinta, sure. Abby, yes, it is upward sloping. That's the key thing I want you all to note with the supply. It is upward sloping. All right. Okay, I'm seeing some good messages coming in here. Y'all hold on. Uh-huh. Yeshua. Um, your supply curve, yes, it could shift to the inward. It could go inwards, it could go outward. But the key thing that I wanted you all to look for, key thing is how this curve looks. Is it an upward sloping curve or a downward sloping curve? And last week, because we saw demand, and we said it was downward sloping, we're looking at supply, so it's upward sloping. So let's take a look here now, you guys. So the first thing is to understand this whole law of supply. Everything in economics, we have some law to go by, abide by, right? So the second law that we're looking at is the law of supply, which states that other things that are equal, the quantity supplied of a good rises when the price of a good rises. Remember last week when we said in order for demand to rise, prices need to go down? Well, we have the opposite here for supply. For supply to increase, prices would have to go up. And if supply goes down, prices would also go down. Remember we said that last week for demand, where we said if you want demand to go up, you have to decrease your price. And if you decrease your demand, that's because there was an increase in price. We said there was an inverse relationship. Well, for supply, there is a positive relationship. There's a direct relationship between price and supply. So just put that in the back of your head. Put it in the front. I don't know why people say put it in the back of your head. Put it in the front. Always remember, price and supply have a direct relationship. Price and supply have a direct relationship. Price and demand have an indirect relationship, also called an inverse relationship. So let's take a look at how this curve looks. So we have here on the screen a diagram showing the supply curve. So let me pinpoint a few things that you all need to be very mindful of when you are drawing any curves in economics. First of all, we have the title, we have the heading. We have the heading of our curve, which is diagram showing the supply curve. One other thing we can see about this curve is that we have the axes labeled. We have the x and y axis. Quantity on the horizontal axis and the price is on the vertical axis. You have the supply curve, which is upward sloping, which is what you all had to do for homework. Tell me if it was upward sloping or downward sloping. We established now that the supply curve is upward sloping from left to right. We could also say that there's an origin for this diagram, which is the zero, and I label my supply curve. You see, I could have just put this curve upward sloping and then have a name for this curve. So it is very important, you guys, to note these key features of every diagram that we have for economics, because every point will award you that mark in the exam. So, axes, the labeling of the curve, the labeling of the origin, giving title of the graph, all of these things are important to make note of. You will also see that yes, it is upward sloping, and ask yourself this question: why? Why is the supply curve upward sloping? We just said it. There is a positive relationship. It says that if supply increase, price will also increase. And if supply decrease, prices will also decrease. Look at it here, you guys. If, let's just say my quantity was 2, I goes up to 5 slices of pizza. So from 2, it went up to 5. At a quantity of 2, the price was 50 cents. But when I went up to 5 quantity, it rose to $1. So we are seeing that as prices keep going up, quantity will also keep going up. And if quantity keeps going up, prices will keep going up. That is the direct relationship, the positive relationship between supply and demand. Yeah, are you all okay with that? Just give me a thumbs up if you all are okay. Yes. All right. Great. Again, if anybody's confused, please let me know through the chat. So let's talk about the supply curve some more. So the supply curve is a graphical representation of the correlation between the cost of a good or service and the quantity supplied for a given product. Again, I'm reading that over. It is the relationship between the cost of a good or service and the quantity supplied at a given period. Quantity supplied is the amount of a good or service that sellers are willing to sell at a specific price. So, whenever we are speaking of quantity supplied, it's all about your willingness, the seller's willingness to sell that product at a specific price. So, the last point, which is very important, I highlighted it and bolded it for you all. So that is because it's very important to remember this point. Prices causes movements along the supply curve, and non-price factors would cause shifts of the supply curve. You all, where did we hear this from again? We heard this just the other day, last week, when we spoke about demand, and we said how prices will cause movements along the demand curve. But non-price factors, like if my income increase, taste and preferences would increase, advertising, all of these things are non-price factors. And what is the effect it will have? It will cause shifts of the curve. But let's just substitute the word demand, and now we are looking at supply. All price factors, whether it be an increase or a decrease in price, would cause movements along the supply curve, whereas non-price factors would cause shifts, and we'll get to those factors just now. But let me show you all, if you all may have forgotten last week's session in terms of movements. This is a diagram showing a movement along the supply curve. We are seeing an upward movement along the supply curve. What does that say? That price is the only way you will see something like this happening is if price goes up. Because as price goes up, supply will increase. We said there's a direct relationship. So this is an upward movement from A to B. Why did it go from A to B? Because as price goes up, supply also went up. And this is caused by an increase in price. Supply increased. But on the flip side, if prices were to decrease, supply will also decrease. We spoke about the relationship between price and supply. It's a positive one. So whatever happens to price, the same thing will happen to supply. So if price goes up, supply goes up. If price goes down, supply will also go down. You and I know there's a lot of diagrams we have been seeing thus far. And I know today being the last session, you all are maybe asking yourself, how are you going to remember these diagrams? How is it that you all will um apply these diagrams for exams? You all. It's about practicing and knowing the key features of these um, graphs will help you remember it. Take it from me. It was hard at first when I first saw it. But I know some of you all are naturals. You're seeing this and you'll remember it. But some of you all will cram this off. It's no time to cram. You're understanding it now, so you can apply it later on. I will get to my whiteboard, I'm hoping soon, just now, so that you all will see how these graphs are illustrated once again. I will do them over. All right. So prices again causes movements along the supply curve. Non-price factors will cause shifts. So let's get to those non-price factors. So we want to look at availability of raw materials. If there's an increase in raw materials, supply will increase. If there is a change in technology, as in technology were to improve, you'd be able to supply more within the economy. You could be able to supply more in your firm, in your organization. Think of it. An increase, an advancement in technology will allow you to make more goods. Don't you all agree? That is a non-price factor. I'm just looking at your messages here, you guys. Yes, these are non-price factors. And yes, CJ, I will be going through them all over again. Don't worry. You're going to be looking at a few diagrams, a lot more just now. But let's understand these non-price factors. Why we call them non-price factors? Because it has nothing to do with prices. Technology is not a price. Factors of production, cost of factors of production is not a price. If there's subsidies, government policies whereby the government is helping in terms of charging the prices for, well, us not paying so much money, it means that we could be able to increase our supply even more. All right? So when we speak of these non-price factors, which is a factor that will affect supply, there's an effect. There will be an effect that will take place in the diagram. Let's look at that effect. You'll be going to get to these diagrams over again, huh? I just want you all to see them. This is the first effect of a non-price diagram. Non-price or other factors besides prices can affect the supply curve. Non-price factors will cause shifts of the supply curve, whether it be an inward shift or an outward shift. If we are dealing with an inward shift of the supply curve, it's going back to the origin. It's going back. And when it goes back to the origin, it means that supply is decreasing. It is going down. So when there's a decrease in supply, let's say technology became obsolete or outdated, you can't increase your production, that's going to decrease your supply. And it will therefore shift inwards. Let's look at the flip side. If supply were to increase, let's just say, yes, technology increased. There's more advanced technology whereby you'll be able to increase your output. Yes, it's going to shift your curve, but where? Where will it shift your curve? It will shift the curve outwards. Whenever there's an increase in supply, there's going to be an outward shift of the supply curve. You all think you all understand all these diagrams? I'm sure some of you all will be honest with yourself and say, I need to go through it again. And yes, we will be going through them here again. But let me hear from you all. Message me in the chat. Let me see. Yeah, and finally, someone asked the question. Why is the demand curve a curve? No, sorry. Why is the demand curve and the supply curve a line? Y'all, yes, we're speaking about curves. Now, I could have drawn this diagram using a curve. I could have drawn an actual demand curve and a supply curve. It's yes, a curve, but you can also represent the demand and supply curve as a line. We just have to be mindful of whether it is upward sloping or downward sloping. That's the key difference. So yes, it's your supply line. So as you could have it as SL, SC, just have it as S. That's your supply. For demand, it is upward. If you all could recall, this is the demand curve. It is downward sloping. It's demand. This is the demand line. Yes? So just now, I'll be going back over all these diagrams. Yes. Um, Beao, Wang, I will be going through that. Yes. And right now, let me see if I could share my screen. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that. Just give me a second. Yeah, just hold on for a second. All right. So you guys, here what we'll have to do. All right, not until I'll be able to get this rectified in terms of showing you all the actual illustration of how to go about drawing these diagrams. We would have to go through them like what we're seeing here on the screen. So for example, if we are looking at the demand curve once again for revision purposes, we know that the demand curve is downward sloping. I really wanted to actually show you all how to draw them, but I am not finding my icon to actually draw it on my blank document. But you all know, for those who are doing economics, you are very much familiar that everything in economics is about diagrams. So therefore, we will be drawing diagrams together and then showing pictures. I just want you all to see them now first, and then later on, what we will do is actively draw them. You all will actually see my little fingers with my little pen drawing it on the screen, but I just can't find the icon right now. Again, that's technical glitches in between. That's okay. We're going to work around it by looking at the diagram here on the screen. So again, this is the demand curve. We see that it is a downward sloping curve, and it means that as prices keep going up, your quantity will end up going down. So I want you all to take a look at what I'm going to do here. I want you all to take a look at the price of two. At a price of $2, I'm going to be demanding 8 items. 8 items. But if prices go up to $6, how much will I be demanding? How much will I be demanding? Okay, Nathan, you're giving me some help. Yes, I need some technical assistance. Nathan saying, I am looking for the option to draw on the PowerPoint, but it's not popping up. It's actually not highlighting it for me. So I have someone in the background kind of trying to figure it out as well. So not until I get it, I don't want to waste too much time trying to figure it out and class ends up finishing without me actually going back over these slides. So we're working around it until we could actually um get it. So my question is, at a price of two, I'm going to be demanding 8 items. And you're seeing it, right? You know what will help it better? My little laser pointer for the while. Only this, because I actually want to draw it. Because this pen. Okay, let me see if I can just do it here. I'm not sure how best it will come out. This is not my way of doing it, but we're working around the system. So this is our demand curve. We have our axes labeled. We have the quantity demanded axis, and we have the price axis, and we have the origin. We see that the demand curve is downward sloping. And I'm going to label my demand curve. Now, you all don't be laughing at my diagrams. I will for you're laughing, huh? This is not how I draw my diagrams, but because my icon on my whiteboard is not showing up, I'll have to do it like this for the while. For the while. All right, so let's go back to the example I'm trying to give you all. So at a price of $2, I am going to be demanding, now look at it closely. I'm going to be demanding 8 items. But if price were to go up to let's say, y'all hold on for just 1 minute. Right. If the price goes up to let's say $10, what is going to happen to my quantity demanded? Now take a look at this, you guys. Take a look at the slow motion I'm going to be drawing this, so it will help you know in the exam when cases like this occur, what do you do? If your price was originally at $2 and you're demanding 8 items, if your price goes up to $10, what is going to happen to demand? Would it increase or would it decrease? So let's do a little slow motion. Slow motion. I'm trying with my device here. This is not the right app that I'm using, but we are doing it anyways. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And we reach the curve. Then we come down. We keep coming down. Right? What has happened to my demand? It actually is going inwards. It is going to the origin. It actually decreasing to probably, let's say, 5 items. So what am I trying to say is that as prices keep going up, your demand is going to go down. Look at the flip side, you guys. Now we working with what we see here on the screen, huh? Let me just, I wonder if I can erase it now, boy. No, I want to erase it. I'll leave that just so. No laughing at my diagrams, huh? You guys? This is not the app I usually use, but we are doing it anyways. Let me try another diagram. Another one. We're labeling it. We're labeling the curves. We have quantity demanded. We have our origin. And we have our price. What will happen if prices were to go down? So let's just say your price was originally at $15. This is my curve. It is downward sloping. This is my demand curve. It's downward sloping. At a price of 15, I am going to be demanding, let's say, 2 items. But if my price were to go down from $15 to now, let's say, $10, my prices went down. Think of doubles price going down. What's going to happen? I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going and going to buy more. I'm going to be buying more doubles. I'm going to probably buy about 8 doubles. Because my prices went down, my quantity demanded will also increase. As my price keeps going down, quantity demanded will increase. You guys, this is what we call the price. Price, the price factor. This is the only factor that is going to cause what? Movements along the demand curve. Are you all seeing the movements? Let me look at it again. Let me look at the first one I just drew. When my prices went up, did my quantity go down? So what kind of movement do you think is going to happen? I'm going to circle these 2 points here. This is the first point, second point. Let me call the points A and B. Let's just say that my prices went up. So therefore my quantity demanded went down. There's going to be an upward movement along my demand curve. Why an upward movement? As it keeps going up, 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 isn't it hitting back my origin? My origin, which is the zero, the quantity demanded is going to start decreasing because when you hear price going up, you want to decrease your demand. But look at the flip side. Look at the second diagram I just drew. When prices went down, my quantity demanded increased. Look at these 2 points here. We call them C and D. When prices went down, quantity increased. Quantity increased. So therefore, there's going to be a downward movement along my demand curve. You all, I am looking at my screen and I'm like, this is not my handwriting. This is not how I usually write. But I'm hoping that you all are understanding the little drawings at the side. Let me know, throw a thumbs up, or you all can message me in the chat, Mr. Confused. Be honest. Let me know how you all are thus far. You all okay? Not until I can rectify this little icon that not allowing me to join the screen. We gotta use this for the while. But you all okay? Message me. I'm looking at all the messages, eh? CJ. Yeah, so when your prices keep going up, your quantity demanded will keep going down. Good, Yeshwar is all right. All right, I don't mind always say, we all right, okay. Hello, kind of messy, Miss Walking over the straight line. No problem, I'll try to fix it next time. But I just want you all to understand. Yes, yes. All right, great. So that is the price factor. I'm gonna try to circle it nice for you again. Price factor, oh Jesus, price factor causes movements along this demand curve. But take a look at this, you guys. Take a look at this diagram. Non-price factors will cause shifts of the demand curve. Non-price factors will cause shifts of the demand curve. So right now we're going to talk about uh, non-price. So anything that is not related to price, like income, your income increase, advertisements, um, seasonal changes, non-price factors we are going to be looking at. This is supposed to be the word factors. Lord D. All right, we done. We write, stop writing. Good. This now is non-price factor. So let's take a look. If my income increased by tomorrow, I know I could buy more goods and services. So let me draw that. That not having that doesn't talk about prices here. I ain't say nothing about prices. I just saying that my income increased by tomorrow. So what's going to happen is this. This is my quantity demanded access. This is my origin. This is my price. My demand curve is downward sloping. I must always label my demand curve, whether it be D1 or D2. Let me call this D1. Let me say that because my income increase, look what's going to happen. It's going to shift my demand curve outwards. So instead of that D1, it's going to now be D2. It increased. Did I say anything about prices? Prices not affecting these diagrams. That is why we will mostly say that prices remain constant during the non-price factor diagram. But on the flip side, let me take a look in the corner here. Let's say this is my quantity demanded again. This is my origin. This is my price. This is my demand curve. Let's say that taste and preferences. People's preferences for the item decrease. They don't like the item anymore. So let me call this demand curve 1. Because you don't like the item anymore, your demand for the item is going to go down. It's going to decrease. And when it decreases, it will shift inwards. So it will now be from DC1 to DC2. This is an inward shift of the demand curve. This is an outward shift of the demand curve. That is only because of non-price factors. Non-price factors. All right? So we spoke about some price factors. We spoke about non-price. Let us jump now to the supply curve. Again, revision. The supply curve is upward sloping. So if my prices keep going up, I must tell Nathan, thank you so much. This is a easier way, but it is not the clearer way to show my diagrams, but we're working with it. We're working with it. We're cooking with gas. Right? So this is our quantity supplied. QS. That's supposed to be QS, huh, you guys? QS, not Q5. QS. And this is price. What if I can... I'm going to try and erase nothing because I won't be able to come back to this diagram. What is the supply curve? We say it is upward sloping. This is our supply curve. It's upward sloping. That means that if price, whether it be at $2 and your supply is going to be, let's say, 10 items. If the price goes up to $20, let me say for example here, if price goes up to $20, look at what is going to happen to my supply, you guys. Slow motion, slow motion, slow motion. Look at it. Let me bring it down, bring it down, bring it down. We keep going down, and then look. Didn't my supply increase? Let me call a figure, you guys. 50. So at a price of 20, that means the price went up. I will supply 50 more items. What is happening is that there's going to be a movement along my supply curve. Let me call this A. Let me call this B. There's going to be what kind of movement? An upward movement along my supply curve. Because as price keeps going up, quantity supplied keeps going up, my supply curve is going to be extended. It's going to go up. There's going to be a supply extension. There's going to be an increase in my supply. On the flip side, if prices were to go down, so I'm going to draw the diagram across here, trying to do it as neat as possible. Quantity supplied, this is my origin, and this is my price. We know the supply curve is an upward sloping curve. Let me say my price was at $5. Let me just say price original random price at $5. You're giving us how much quantity supplied? Let's say 10. But if the price were to decrease from $5 to let's say $3. At a price of 3, what is going to happen to the supply? Or you look at this closely. Let's just say you get stuck in the exam and you don't know what is going to happen to supply. Draw it. It will give you the answer. I'm drawing it. We don't know what's going to happen to supply. Would it increase or would it decrease? We're drawing it. We're trying to figure out this answer. We're bringing it down. Look at what is happening. Supply will decrease till, let me call a figure below 10 because it's going back to the origin. Let me say let me say 4. So the price of 3, we will only supply 4 items because there's no profit motivation for suppliers. When the prices keep going down, they are going to decrease their supply. These are the price factors. Price factors. But before I forget, or you look back at this, you see these 2 points here? Let me call them C. Let me call them D. If supply were to decrease, there's going to be a contraction of the supply curve. There's going to be a decrease in the supply curve. My supply curve is going to go down. So there's going to be a downward movement along the supply curve. Downward movement along the supply curve. But when there's an increase in supply, there's going to be an upward movement along my supply curve. All right? So that is the price factors affecting supply. Another revision for you guys. Now we're now talking about the non-price factors. Non-price factors, like if technology were to be advanced, you have an increase in technology, supply could actually increase. But we're not talking about prices here. That was the price side. Price factors only causes movements. Non-price factors like technology would cause shifts of the supply curve. So therefore, this is how my supply curve will look. So just imagine I draw the diagram. This is the diagram that we are drawing here. If you are looking at this, don't look at the headings. Does this show an increase or decrease in supply? From S1 to S3. Is this an increase or decrease in supply? Let me see if all you're understanding me so far. Is this an increase or decrease? This diagram here, is this an increase or decrease in my supply curve? Very good, Anthony. Very good, Yeshwar. Nathan, very good. It's going to definitely represent, this is definitely representing a decrease in supply. But if supply were to increase, let's just say you discover more natural resources. When we spoke about the PPC, the production possibility curve, you discover more natural resources. And you're going to increase your supply. So therefore, it's going to move from S1 to S2. When we speak about increasing supply and it's shifting outwards, it's using the words shift, S-H-I-F-T. The difference between shift and a movement. Movement along the supply curve is because of the price factors. Shifts of the supply curve is because of non-price factors. Are we all okay? Are you all okay with that? So that was our revision from last week. Into this week, we are through with the intro part of demand and supply analysis. Are we all okay? Yes? Class is not finished, even though you saw the end. Because that is now, that part is finished, I have a nice little intro of what we will be starting next session. And you all know what next session is going to be. Not next week, because this is the last class for economics. Yes, you heard me once. You're going to hear me it again. Next week, that's it. There's no econ class next week. Therefore, this is the last class. So, I want to give you all the intro for next session, which is going to be come September. I'm trying to open this slide here now. Just give me a minute. Da, da, Let me just open my slide. It's just it's short pages, so it's going to take us less time to really finish this here. Hold on. Share. Right. So this is actually supposed to be lesson 4, not right. We want to talk about this whole demand and supply analysis. And we want to talk about it equaling each other. Now let's dig deeper into what demand and supply analysis is about. Because demand and supply analysis, we saw demand and supply curves. What happens, or what do you think will happen if they intersect each other? That means they cross its path. That means, let me get my little scrappy diagram here. What will happen if something like this took place? So we have a diagram where we have the supply curve and we have a demand curve. We're seeing something intersecting here. We see a middle point. In this session, we're going to talk about the middle. We're talking about the middle point of the demand and supply curve. And that middle point, my dear students, are called equilibrium. So because of the last class, I want you all to make full notes of this. Remember, did I give you all registration information for September? Did I? I can't remember if I did. I'm going so fast. Did I give you all registration information for September? I mean, not all good things come to an end. Summertime is coming to an end, but classes will be continuing as of September. Did I give you all registration information? Can't remember. You have the notes? Good. Yes. Nice. No? Luke, you didn't get it? Luke didn't get the information? Okay, seen some of you all got it while some didn't. So let me just carry it back again. All my number. Remember, we having lessons in September for the new academic year, going straight down till CXC. It could be days before the actual CXC exam, whereby we're doing well past papers, multiple choice, paper two, paper three well, for those who are private candidates. I'm gonna message you back my number. Message me if you uh why is my chat like this now? I'm messaging you on if what you feel I thought I might forget. Send me your numbers as well. Because it's the last class, I don't want you all to misplace the number. So you can send me it so that if you are interested in the September session, you can message in the WhatsApp number that is in the chat, the Zoom chat. So you all seen the Zoom chat? Yes? No? Are you all seeing the Zoom chat? I sent you all my number. Luke? Okay, great. So once all you have it, or you can message me in the chat. If you think you're going to misplace this number, send me your number as well, and I will save it so that I can start adding you all to the new academic term, which is starting in September. All right, so if you didn't get it, now you have it. So going back to my slides before the session finishes, because it's very important, I want to talk to you all about the situation of equilibrium. So equilibrium can occur when both um, demand and supply intersect. That means that they are equal. So the demand, the willingness, and the ability to pay for a good or service is equal to the supply that suppliers are willing to supply those goods and services. So equilibrium is also said to be a situation, let me get my pointer out, the situation of rest. In other words, demand is equal to supply. There's no other easy way to describe equilibrium than saying demand is equal to supply. Yes? Demand is equal to supply. Zuri, I got your information. Thank you. Again, if you all want to send your information, because after the chat, after we close off Zoom here, you all will not or may not get the contact number after the session. So please, if you feel you might forget my number, just send it. Send yours in the chat. I know some of you all. All right, let me just go to my screen here now. Next slide. Now, this is equilibrium. This is equilibrium we are referring to here now. And if you don't have WhatsApp, I know some of you all are like myself who is on WhatsApp, but not really on WhatsApp. Send me a number still. I know I can still send you all the information through a contact number. You can send me a parent's number as well. Send me it so that I can forward that information to you guys. Right? So this is the equilibrium diagram we're talking about here. Demand is equal to supply. In the middle is the equilibrium point. And because we're in the equilibrium point, we always will want to focus on that. But like I said, as much as we would love that, the situation will occur whereby it's going to be difficult. It might be impossible to always focus or get to equilibrium. It may be. So The determination of the equilibrium price and quantity, we would like for demand to always equal supply. We would love that. But look at this diagram here, you guys. Just now, you guys, let me just get my presenter notes. Good. So we're going back to this. We always, or we may not always achieve equilibrium in the market. So for instance, let's say prices are above equilibrium price, or let's just say prices are below equilibrium price. You know what could happen? There's going to be disequilibrium. So while equilibrium exists when demand is equal to supply, disequilibrium can occur whereby your demand is not equal to supply. Your price may be too high, too above equilibrium, or it might be below equilibrium. And this session here, the last part of the session, I'm just going to run through it, and then we're going to be resuming at this point with a little revision of the last few sessions come September. So because we are not always going to operate at market equilibrium, in this diagram, we are seeing that prices are above the $15. Prices, which is equilibrium price. Equilibrium price is $15 because look, in the middle, equilibrium price is 15. What does that 15 mean? It is saying that we as consumers are willing to pay $15 for the item, and suppliers are willing to supply their goods and provide us it for $15. So equilibrium price is $15. Equilibrium quantity is, it could be a random figure, but this is our equilibrium. According to this diagram now, we are seeing a surplus. How we are getting a surplus if prices went up? At any price above $15, you guys, which is above equilibrium price, people will be demanding less. All you heard what I just said? Because prices went up, there's a surplus in the market because people will be demanding less. How did I arrive at that? How can I tell you all that? Look closely here at this diagram. The 200 represents my quantity demanded, where the 410 is my quantity supplied. Because, let me see if I could show you all this here. I'm going to show you all it here a little better. A little bigger. I like you want to see that a little bit bigger. So share. Let me say that this is my demand curve. This here is my demand curve. I'm just highlighting it. And because that's my demand curve, at a price of 20, people are going to demand 200. This is my supply curve. It is upward sloping. And at a price of 20, suppliers are willing to supply 410 items. Because price increase, suppliers will supply more. But because we don't like when price increase, we tend to decrease our demand because it's going to have a surplus in the market. This shaded area here represents our surplus. You all know why there's going to be a surplus? Because your quantity supplied is greater than your quantity demanded. Situations like this will cause a surplus in the market. You're seeing that so far, right? People will be demanding less, and suppliers are going to keep supplying more because price increase. So let's talk about food again. Let's talk about food at the food court. Because we love food, right? Let's say that you all are in the food court. You all know that there are some food courts at 6 o'clock or 6:30. Prices of the food start to go down. All ever ask for themselves why. I know one mall in particular, like Long Circular Mall. Yeah, people's be long line, including Miss. Sorry, right? Long lines because price of the food is no longer $10 a pound or $10 a portion. Instead of $10, it's going down to $5. All you ever ask of yourselves, why they doing these things? One, besides they discarding all the food, and they say, you know what? Because we have so much food remaining at the end of the day, so much food in the food court remaining, because the supply is so much, you guys, so much. Let us start decreasing the prices so that our equilibrium, we could start meeting back to our equilibrium. When prices start to go down, people will start to buy back the goods. So while there was a surplus, in other words, if not, they will start to decrease. The food will now start to decrease. And will continue to decrease until it reaches that point where the surplus disappears and will reach back to equilibrium point. We run through this again. We have a surplus in the market because price went up. Supply is greater than demand. But because supply is greater than demand, we want to operate at equilibrium point. That is our key objective. We want to go back to the middle equilibrium. So what suppliers or what the economy will do is that they're going to start decreasing their prices. Prices will start to go down. It will start to go down and keep going down until the surplus is eaten away. It starts to disappear. And when that starts to occur, we're going to go back to our equilibrium point. So think of this little line here that is where the $20 is. It will now go back to where the 15 is so that we can go to equilibrium. On the flip side, conversely, if the equilibrium price is 15, but the price now that is being charged within the economy is 10, what is going to happen is, now take a look at this, you guys. The price is 15, that's equilibrium. We happy, we achieve equilibrium here. But in the actual economy, prices is $10. We happy because price went down. You know why? It's hitting my demand curve. When at a price of 10, demand is going to be high because price went down. Nothing new here, you guys. Nothing new. Because price went down, we are happy. We will demand more. But suppliers, on the other hand, the suppliers are not going to be as happy because price went down, they're not going to get their profit. So they decrease their supply. They're decreasing it to 190. So while demand and supply, we are seeing that quantity demanded, sorry, quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. That gives us a deficit, deficit in the market. A deficit comes about because there's too much people demanding these goods because the prices are too low. Everybody wants the good. And that is going to lead to a deficit in the market. So at any prices below $15, demand exceeds supply. So we have a deficit, we have a shortage. Hey, earlier, we have our scarcity problem. We're coming back to our economic problem of scarcity. So whenever there are shortages, what is going to happen is that prices will start to go back up in the market. When there's a shortage, I remember there was a time flour, flour with baking, flour to bake. It was on a shortage. I remember there was a time the flour truck, the van man shut down, and oh gosh, his whole truck got raided because it was so bad. Flour at that time, it was I think around 2007. There was a scarcity of flour in the country because supply was less, but everybody wanted to buy the flour. The supply was less, the prices went down. So what happened is that prices tend to go back up so that people will start to decrease their demand for the item. So in conclusion, what we could say is that above equilibrium, we're going to get a surplus, and below equilibrium, there's going to be a shortage. We want to increase the price here. Carry it back up. Carry it back up. When it goes back up, it will get back to equilibrium. And that is when we speak of market equilibrium. We have situations of deficits and shortages. So disequilibrium is when the quantity supplied and quantity demanded is not the same. So we're going to have situations occurring where the government will have to now intervene to control these shortages and these surpluses. And when we come in September, God's space, life, health, and strength, and we all well, and you all are wanting to continue again, we will look at what government can do to sort out these situations of shortages and surpluses. So I sent you all my contact number in the chat, right? If you all, again, remember when this chat closes off, you all may not be able to get my number. Registration is beginning at the end of August. And within it, if I didn't tell you all, now I'm going to tell all you something sweet and nice. For the month of September, there'll be no registration fee. Message me, get your information in, get access to the Google Classroom, and we have a nice package awaiting for you all. Right? So my number is in the chat. My number is in the chat for those who are not going to remember to save my number. You could send me your number here, and I could save it and send you my information so that you all could get access to the packages and get the invitation links to the classroom. But what I really want to stress on right now is my gratitude and my appreciation for you all journeying throughout this entire summer program with me. On behalf of the entire iLoveLessons family, we thank you. This is the last econ class. Until next week, please go. We have until the, well, Wednesday is the last class actually. But because this is Thursday, there's no Thursday class come next week. We would like to say thank you, and we hope that you all took these free summer classes nicely, you all were able to learn something, and you all could actually get prepared for the new academic year ahead of you all. Right? I wish you all the best in whatever decisions that you all may make in terms of if you all should continue with this subject for CXC or not continue. I hope that decisions that you all are making will be wise enough. You all know your career paths down the line. And yes, I hope to see you all back for September. As usual, I thank you all again for joining in. And if you have any questions in today's session, please feel free to stay back, message me, and I will um respond to you all there. But that's the end. I will see you all hopefully for September. Okay? Very good, Rachel. And I'll see your message. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a good evening and take care. Thank you, Anthony. I do appreciate it as well. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.